Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we will be looking at AQA Alevel Psychology 2024 Paper 1 Exemplar Answers for Psychopathology, which you need to know for AQA Alevel Psychology. I hope you enjoy this video and find it helpful. Let's get started. Please note that these answers have been produced with knowledge of the mark scheme but have not been approved by the mark scheme themselves. There are 3 assessment objectives, AOs, in psychology. In this video they are color-coded. AO1 Knowledge, purple. AO2 Application, blue. AO3 Evaluation, red and green. Question 1. Which 2 of the following are emotional characteristics of obsessive-compulsive disorder? 2 marks. A. Hypervigilance. B. Insight into excessive anxiety. C. Low mood. D. Obsessive thoughts. E. Self-loathing. C. Low mood and E. Self-loathing. Ken visited his friend, Jules, who has a large dog called Prince. Prince ran in from the garden, jumped at Ken and knocked him down, breaking his arm. Ken now has a fear of dogs and has avoided all dogs ever since. Question 2. How would the 2-process model of phobias explain Ken's fear of dogs? 6 marks. One behaviorist explanation of phobias is the 2-process model. This model was proposed by Hobart Mowrer, 1960, and emphasizes the role of learning in phobias. It suggests that phobias are learnt through classical conditioning, learning through association first demonstrated by Ivan Pavlov and maintained through operant conditioning, learning through consequences, demonstrated by Skinner. An anxiety-provoking unconditioned stimulus, UCS, results in an unconditioned fear response, UCR, as humans naturally fear pain. A UCS is associated with a neutral stimulus, NS, to create a conditioned stimulus, CS, through threatening and negative experiences, which produced a conditioned response, CR, of fear. These phobias are sometimes generalized to similar objects or situations. This conditioned fear response is maintained through operant conditioning, through negative reinforcement, where a person avoids the feared object or situation and as a result is rewarded with a desirable reduction in unpleasant feelings, e.g. anxiety, which increases the likelihood of this avoid behavior being repeated. Ken's phobia has developed through classical conditioning. He has formed an association between the neutral stimulus, dogs, and the fearful event, being knocked down and breaking bones. This learnt conditioned response is triggered every time he sees a dog. The phobias has generalized to all dogs. The phobia of dogs is maintained through operant conditioning, through negative reinforcement with the relief he feels when avoiding dogs. Question 3. Discuss the cognitive approach to explaining depression. 16 marks. Cognitive explanations of depression focus on how mental processes affect behavior and are based on the assumption that depression is the result of disturbance in thinking and the consequence of negative faulty and maladaptive biases in thinking. Cognitive explanations suggest that these thoughts can be managed by challenging this faulty thinking. Ellis, 1957-1962, proposed the ABC model, which suggests that depression occurs as a result of irrational thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. Ellis believed that everyone holds a unique set of assumptions or beliefs about themselves and their environment that guide them through life and determine their reactions to the various situations. Some people have masturbatory thought processes, which causes them to impose unrealistic demands and expectations on oneself or others. This sets them up to fail and guides them to irrationally interpret events and act and react in ways that are inappropriate and prejudice their chances of happiness and success, as such high expectations inevitably lead to disappointment with extreme feelings leading to depression. The model proposes that an activating adversity or event, A, in the environment triggers an irrational, or rational, or unrealistic negative belief, B, or thoughts about why the situation occurred, e.g. masturbation, utopianism, which then causes a consequence, C, in the form of an unhealthy emotion, feeling or behavior about the belief, e.g. anxiety, depression. In the case of depression, a person may be given a poor evaluation of their work, activating event. This may then trigger a person to irrationally believe that they are a complete failure and will never succeed, belief, which then may cause a person to never put effort into their work again and feel unhealthy emotions, such as worthlessness, consequence. These unhealthy emotional feelings of worthlessness result in depression. A strength of the Ellis-ABC model as a cognitive explanation of depression is that there is research to support. Alloy et al., 1999, used a sample of non-depressed college freshmen with no other diagnosed disorders. Half of the sample had a history of clinical depression, the other half did not. The students with a history of clinical depression demonstrated no symptoms at the beginning of the study. To begin, the students were given a test to measure their cognitive style. The students were identified as either high risk, HR, or low risk, LR, for depression based on their thinking patterns. The researchers carried out follow-up assessments every 6 weeks for 2.5 years and then every 4 months for an additional 3 years. The study was based on a combination of questionnaires and structured interviews to identify stressful life events, cognitive style, and symptoms of depression. After 6 years, the researchers that cognitively high-risk patients, negative group, had a 17% lifetime prevalence than low-risk patients, positive group, who had only 1% lifetime prevalence of major depression. The results show that the participants in the high-risk group were more likely to show symptoms of depression. This is a strength because it suggests that cognitive styles and thought patterns significantly influence the risk of developing depression. A limitation of the Ellis-ABC model as a cognitive explanation of depression is that it only describes and explains reactive depression and not endogenous depression. The explanation focuses on reactive depression, which arises in response to external events or stressors. Endogenous depression is characterized by a lack of external triggers and often has a biological or genetic basis. This is not adequately explained by this model, as endogenous depression may arise from internal factors such as neurotransmitter imbalances or genetic predispositions, which the ABC model does not account for. This is a limitation because it suggests that depression is solely a reaction to external events, neglecting the role of internal factors such as biology and genetics in the development of endogenous depression. Beck, 1976, proposed the negative triad, which suggests that depression is characterized by a negative triad of spontaneous beliefs about the self, the world, and the future, which interact with negative schemas and cognitive biases to produce depressive thinking. Negative schemas are a deeply held set of beliefs and assumptions that develop in childhood, often through traumatic events, e.g. parental or peer rejection or torment, and provide a person with a negative framework for viewing events in their lives and future negatively and pessimistically. Beck predicted that in depression, latent, e.g. dormant, negative schemas that have been formed in childhood become activated by life events or ongoing stressors. In adulthood, these become cognitive biases, which are systematic errors in thinking that affect the decisions and judgments that people make and distort thought processes, causing people to focus on the negative aspects of a situation and ignore the positives. These biases cause faulty information processing, which includes overgeneralization, where an individual makes broad conclusions based on a single event or limited evidence; catastrophizing, where an individual anticipates the worst possible outcome in a situation, often blowing the potential consequences out of proportion; magnification, where an individual exaggerates the importance of negative events or mistakes while downplaying positive experiences or achievements; selective perception, when individuals focus on certain aspects of a situation while ignoring others; and absolutist thinking, also known as black and white thinking, where individuals see situations in extreme terms, with no middle ground or shades of gray. Those with depression may have low self-esteem and view themselves as helpless, worthless, and inadequate, e.g. nobody loves me. They may view the world in an unrealistically negative and defeatist way and see the world as posing obstacles that can't be handled, e.g. the world is an unfair place. They may view the future as hopeless because their worthlessness will prevent their situation from improving, e.g. I will always be a failure. A strength of Beck's negative triad as a cognitive explanation of depression is that there is research to support. Grazioli and Terry, 2000, found that pregnant women who judged to be high in cognitive vulnerability were more likely to suffer from postnatal depression compared to those without that specific diathesis. This means that the cognitive approach could be used to identify vulnerabilities in people and trigger interventions to delay or prevent the progress of depression. On top of this, Clark and Beck, 1999, found cognitive vulnerability factors could be seen before depression develops, suggesting that Beck may be right about negative cognitions causing depression, in some cases. This is a strength because it suggests that identifying cognitive vulnerabilities can lead to early interventions, potentially preventing the onset of depression. A limitation of Beck's negative triad as a cognitive explanation of depression is that not all episodes of depression have an activating event. Beck's model doesn't account for cases where individuals experience depression without any clear trigger. This can be particularly relevant in situations where depression arises due to biological factors, such as genetic predispositions or neurochemical imbalances, rather than cognitive distortions linked to specific events. Additionally, some people may have a more chronic form of depression that doesn't follow the typical pattern of being linked to identifiable stressors or activating events. This is a limitation because it suggests that Beck's negative triad may oversimplify the causes of depression by attributing it primarily to cognitive distortions linked to specific events. A limitation of cognitive explanations of depression is that a cause and effect relationship cannot be established. Ellis' ABC model of depression and Beck's negative triad assume a causal link between cognitions and depression and are supported by research that uses correlational data to conclude their findings. This does not determine the precise role of cognitive processes or explain the origins of irrational thoughts. It is not clear whether negative, irrational thoughts cause depression, or whether a person's depression leads to a negative mindset. There could be other factors, e.g. genes and neurotransmitters, that cause depression, and one of the side effects of depression are negative, irrational thoughts. This is a limitation because it suggests that cognitive models may oversimplify the complexities of depression by failing to account for the bidirectional relationship between thoughts and mood. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Bye.